I'm a senior scientist at the University of Natural Resources and Life Sciences in Vienna. I'm a senior scientist for citizen science, and yeah, I was asked today to give a short overview of citizen science as a tool for biodiversity monitoring and communication. And this is what I essentially want to do today. But before, I want to give you a little bit of context in how citizen science is working in Austria, what is happening in the area of citizen science research, before going into three short examples of citizen science projects in alpine regions that also happen in protected areas. And I will close the presentation by giving some short takeaway messages if you want to start your own citizen science project in the future, for example. First, a little bit of context. How is citizen science organized in Austria? In 2014, my colleague Florian Heigl and myself, we founded the citizen science platform Österreich forscht, and a few years later then the Citizen Science Network Austria, which we are both coordinating until today. Österreich forscht is a citizen science online platform where you can find a lot of citizen science projects. Currently there are 57 projects coming from all over Austria, from all kinds of institutions, also from all kinds of research fields. You can also find some general information on citizen science on the website. We have a very active citizen science blog. We just recently celebrated the 500th blog post on Österreich forscht. And we also give some information on the Citizen Science Network Austria, and of course our main sorry? And also on our main event each year, the annual Austrian Citizen Science Conference, which we organized since 2015. And big parts of this platform are also available in English. So if you want to have a look at it, especially on all the different projects, you can certainly do this even if you don't speak German. I already spoke about the Citizen Science Network Austria. This is a quite diverse network. So we have a lot of universities in the network, of course, and also NGOs and public authorities and companies, but also smaller organizations like small museums, also foundations, or national parks are part of the network. And in the network, we really want to exchange our experience and our knowledge on citizen science, and yeah, increase and strengthen the quality of citizen science in Austria. And I already talked also about the 57 projects, and it's quite similar to what Jakub presented earlier for the Czech Republic. So the majority of the project has an ecological background. And on this graph, you can see not the research fields, but we have divided the projects based on the filter words that interested citizens can use to browse through all the projects on Österreich forscht. So they can really filter down the projects to their interests. And as you can see, animals, plants, and fungi make up 42% of all the projects on Österreich forscht. And projects on the humanities, social sciences, and very important part in Austrian research, the art sciences, make up about 20% of all the projects. And when we talk about citizen science project in protected areas, I think it would be necessary to show you also this map. On this map, you can see in green all the areas that are protected somehow in Austria. So you can see they are mainly located in the alpine regions, but of course you also have some other protected areas in the lowlands, especially in the east of Austria. And with next slides, I will go into detail into three smaller projects, or three citizen science projects that also happen in these protected areas. And the first is Vielfalt bewegt, Alpenverein from young to old, which would probably translate into English in biodiversity moves you. It's a project from the Austrian Alpine Association, so the Österreichische Alpenverein, which has, I think, roughly 300,000 members. So it's a quite a huge association in Austria, and the project PI Birgit Kantner has agreed that you can contact her if you have any questions on the project. So you can use this email address here. The project goals of this project is to observe and document the distribution of 20 alpine plant and animal species above the tree line. Also raise the awareness for biodiversity in the participants of the project, but also in the members of the Austrian Alpine Association, and also to detect trends in climatic and management changes. And how does it work now? So the project really has a special target group. It involves hikers, both adults and children, and they report observations of these 20 animal and plant species when hiking via paper-based observation sheets that they send to the project PI or via an app or website. So they report the location, where they found the species, the time, the species itself, of course. They also upload a picture if available, especially when using the app. And they also give information about the number of individuals they observed. As you can see, hikers are a very diverse target group, so you really need to have a good communication plan if you really want to involve this very diverse group of people in a project. And they have really come up with some great ideas. For children, they have developed a memory game. So this memory game, the children can play at home before going hiking. So they already learn about the species that they have to observe in the project at home before even being outside. They also have designed a brochure for children where they can get a little bit of background information. So it's for older children, background information on the species. And they also offer workshop through the association's youth program. And also for the adults, they have workshops where they can really learn about the species. They inform about preliminary results, for example, in their newsletters. They also give open public presentations. And in general, they use all the media channels of the association. So they really tap into the potential of their association. And here are some first results. These are the numbers of observations on all the 20 species. In blue, you can see the amphibian species. In orange, the birds. In gray, the insects. In yellow, the lichen species. In green, the plant species. And in violet, at the end, the spider species. And as you can see here, the numbers of observations are quite high on the plant species, which is no surprise because plants usually don't hide and you can observe them very easily. In total, they have more than 5,000 observations so far, and among them were 140 wrong species identifications. So all the observations are double-checked by experts, and only 560 without a picture. So that's a quite high percentage of observations with pictures. And a very recent result, which shows the great impact that the Citizen Science Project already had, is that the observations from the province of Vorarlberg, which is in the very western part of Austria, were included in the red list for amphibian species. So you can see especially a very short-term impact already of this project. And on the right bottom side, you can see also a picture of the memory game for the children that I mentioned before. Speaking about a completely different target group and a completely different project is the biodiversity monitoring by farmers. It's a project from the association Austrian Board of Trustees for Agricultural Engineering and Rural Development, in German, Österreichisches Kuratorium für Landtechnik und Landentwicklung. It's not a very short name, but the project is great. And also here you can contact the project PI Wolfgang Ressi if you have any further questions. The project has the goal to inspire farmers for animals and plants on their meadows, and also they want to motivate them to protect these species through adapted management, because the project team has identified farmers as being a very important target group when it comes to protecting areas or protecting species in protected areas. What I think is very nice is that the farmers themselves also monitor the impact of their changed cultivation or adapted management on their meadows themselves. So they can really see the impact of what happens, what changes when they change their management. And how does it work? The farmers volunteer to be part of the project, and then they get a personal coaching by biodiversity experts who really visit their farms and give them some initial training in a standardized monitoring approach. And this standardized monitoring approach is tailored for the farmers' meadows and also interests. So the farmers themselves can say, I am interested in this and that species, and then the biodiversity expert looks at the meadows, looks at the wishes from the farmers, and then really tailors the monitoring approach according to these wishes and the circumstances. Then the farmers report their observations through a dedicated website. Again, they give the species they observe, the number of individuals, also the date, and they upload a picture. The farmers then can also get a personalized report for their farm. And this they can also use to document protection measures they implemented on their farm to get public funding, because in Austria, farmers can get public funding if they protect nature on their properties. And as you imagine, communication has to be on a very personal level when involving farmers in such an intense way. So they usually talk with the farmers via telephone or email, or if this is not an option, they also use mailing lists. And what I did not mention is that the biodiversity experts visit the farms not only once, but twice. So after a couple of months, the biodiversity expert visits the farms again and has a look how the monitoring is working for the farmer, and if there are some, if the farmers need some more training, or if they need to adapt this monitoring approach. And some first results, already more than 407 farmers participate in the project, and among them more than 50 alpine pastures. And in total, they have roughly 1,000 observation plots all over Austria. And what they can already tell is some development of the numbers of species in observed meadows since 2014 in correlation to the cultivation. So on the right side, there is a graph from the project, which is showing that farmers who do the first mowing of their meadows in June observe significantly less butterflies than if they do the first mowing in July. So they can really show this across a bigger geographical scale. And speaking about butterflies, I come to the last project example, the project Vielfalter Butterfly Monitoring. This is a project done by the University of Innsbruck. And again, here you can contact the project PI Johannes Rüdisle if you have any further questions on this. The project has many goals, and among them, the systematic and long-term monitoring of butterfly stands and of the quality of butterfly habitats in Western Austria. So this project is happening also in Vorarlberg, in Tyrol, in the very western part of Austria, and also in the German-speaking part of South Tyrol in Italy. It also wants to build a reference data set on the occurrence and development of butterfly populations in the Alps and monitor biodiversity against changes in land use and global change. And of course, it also wants to raise the awareness for biodiversity and encourage the maintenance of habitats, especially grassland ecosystems within the cultural landscape. And as you can see, these project examples have some overlapping aims, and they are not isolated. They are, the projects are talking to each other within the network. They're exchanging their experiences. And this is really one of the great potentials of our network here in Austria. How does it work? The project Vielfalter uses two methods, a combination of methods on roughly 100 locations. So they have an expert monitoring. So a quarter of all these 100 locations are monitored by experts each year. So on each of these roughly 25 locations, experts go there 4 times a year and do some expert monitoring. So after 4 years, they have monitored all the 100 locations, and then they start all over again. And in between these years, the citizen scientists can also do some systematic observations, which is easier to do, but they still have to be trained to do this. So on the one hand, you have the expert monitoring data every 4 years, and in between you have the citizen science observations. Here again, you need to have a really tailored communication approach. because you need to train the citizen scientists. So the project offers excursions, they offer workshops, and during the pandemic, when personal meetings were not an option, they also created a massive open online course, a MOOC, so people can do the training now from at home and yeah, learn a lot about butterflies in the project. To communicate the project further, they also use science cafes, so citizens can meet scientists in a very relaxed atmosphere, usually in a coffee house. And they also do smaller projects with schools and local tourism agencies, because the project has identified local schools and also tourists that are frequently visiting these protected areas to explore the areas and nature there, to be very valuable citizen scientists in the project that are very, very motivated to participate. And also here some first results. The expert monitoring has done 397 surveys from 2018 to 2020, and the experts observed roughly 7,000 butterflies. The citizen scientists did 984 surveys in the same time period, and they counted roughly 5,500 butterflies. What is really nice is that both the experts and the citizen scientists observed several protected species, so they really complement each other. And with that, I would also like to come to the last slide and some takeaway messages. So as you can see, citizen science offers a valuable method to monitor and protect, especially also conservation areas. And because it can clearly increase the awareness for protected species and or landscapes, both in locals and in tourists. And this is, I think, the very important part, because you need both. You need the locals to protect the areas, and also the tourists who go there and explore these areas and yeah, really want to enjoy the nature there. Very important takeaway message is there is no one-fits-all solution. So each project needs to be tailored to the specific aims and also the involved target groups. As you can imagine, we just heard examples from projects that are involving children or school classes, and you need to adapt the project design according to this target group, because it needs to be completely different than when you involve farmers, for example. And that communication is one of the most important aspects of citizen science projects. This is something that I always say to people who want to start their own citizen science project. Don't underestimate the importance of good communication within a project, because it really influences the participation and also the data quality of the project. Yeah, and with this, I would like to give some special thanks again to the project PIs who allowed me to use the pictures in the presentations. And I really want to also thank you for your attention and the organizers for having me. Thank you very much.